Now, I hope, and I want the prosecution to absolutely annihilate her. But from prior cross-examinations, they are just going to focus on what she actually did and what they can prove she did. They don't care about the fluff she's trying to present to the jury. This is what you actually did. This is what you actually wrote. Now, I hope they go through more of it. But let's see.
Save your own skin. That's what you testified to?
If I use those words,
Well, Mr. DeCray asked you and you agreed. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay. So how do we know you're not saving your own skin right now?
I think I just explained that.
Ms. Mitchell, you were with Officer Sternhagen for roughly 37 and a half minutes. Would you dispute that? Adding in the drive time that was edited out of the video.
If that was the officer's car I was in, I don't remember all the names. I would not dispute that.
37 and a half minutes from the time you were ordered to the ground until the time you walked into that cell. You understand that?
Yes,
0 times in 37 and a half minutes did you mention you were there out of concern for Carol Mitchell. Zero times. Do you agree with that?
I would
It's a
disagree.
yes or no question.
No,
You don't agree with that?
I do not.
Okay. 0 times you mentioned anything about medical information, finding out medical information.
I agree with that.
Okay. Let's back up a little bit. So, Ms. Mitchell, you agree here that you did not have consent to enter Carol Mitchell's house that morning.
I absolutely agree.
And that morning, I mean April 22nd, 2024,
I agree.
and here in Becker County, 709 Granger Road.
I agree.
And you agree that Carol Mitchell was indeed inside the residence when you broke in,
I agree.
that she was present.
I agree.
I'm going to bounce around a little bit here. So you did not object or contest the estate, correct?
I did not.
Your father's estate,
I did not.
and the entire estate was awarded to Carol Mitchell.
It was.
And you heard the testimony yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Your Aunt Nancy,
Yes.
she testified that you, in her opinion, you're honest and trustworthy.
Yes, I heard that.
And you just told us that you act with integrity and you believe you are an honest person.
I qualified some exceptions, but generally, yes.
But you also obviously admitted to lying, claiming to be lying to officers repeatedly.
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell, I want to circle back to the internment argument. Could I publish defense exhibit? I don't remember the number.
243 and 248, I believe, right?
243 and 248? So, Ms. Mitchell, sorry, I just lost the exhibit. I'm just going to ask you, you read those text messages?
I had.
Okay, I'm done with the publishing, Your Honor. Take down the. You understand that the Carol Mitchell's initial text that started all this said that they are going to call me, and she thought it would be April, but they are going to call me.
I can't see it, but that sounds correct.
Is it? And then when she informed you later on in the other exhibit, which
We're more than happy to help you get the exhibit up, Your Honor.
we'll just fast forward. Is this 240?
We're looking through the electronic system right now. It smells gray. It's double girl. The little small windows, Your Honor, they're hard to see. 1 second, please. 253.
253 of publishing, Ms. Mitchell.
Clerk, catch up here.
Ms. Carol Mitchell tells you that, quote, David Donnerhauer funeral called me, correct?
Yes.
And so I guess my question is do you believe with all the situations you've given us and presented us with the history, do you believe that it's possible that Carol Mitchell thought this had to be the day based on the tenor of the conversations from the funeral home?
Yes, that's why I called them to confirm. And then told her that it could actually be other days.
And I'm not discrediting the pain that you felt, Ms. Mitchell, I assure you. I'm merely asking is, do you agree this was the disease that caused this miscommunication?
Yes,
So, Ms. Mitchell, you walked us through somewhere around the nature of 4 years of history and examples and progression of Carol Mitchell's Alzheimer's. Would you agree with that,
yes,
roughly? And then we had the argument over your father's ashes, the internment.
yes,
And you said that you were upset and, quote, needed a break.
yes,
And you agree you did not call, see, or text Carol Mitchell until you were in her house on April 22nd.
yes.
Let's talk about the medical information. So, first of all, who gave you permission to access Carol Mitchell's medical information?
I did not have permission.
And you, on April 20th, you read something that was very concerning to you.
I did.
It was so concerning that you didn't tell your aunts? Yes or no?
I did not.
You didn't tell Jonathan Cool?
No,
Didn't tell Pat Muxfield?
No.
Didn't even try to reach out to Carol?
no,
And so you specifically arranged for your stepfather to watch your children?
yes,
Okay, and so when you were arrested, that created a little bit of a problem in terms of getting back on time?
yes,
And so your biggest rationale for what you characterize as deceiving, lying to law enforcement, is that you didn't want Carol to get upset. Those are statements.
that I thought if we calmed it down, she would drop the charges.
Sure. But the problem with that story is that you were with the officers much longer outside of her presence than with her presence, right? And you continued the story. You repeatedly said you were there to take your dad's things, even when Carol wasn't present. Correct?
Correct.
So when you said, I have never done anything like this, was that fact or fiction to the officer?
Fact,
Okay. When you said, you're going to find out I'm a military commander, for God's sake, was that fact or fiction?
fact.
Okay. What was the purpose in telling him that?
I think that's when it was dawning on me that, just any interaction with police, I would have to tell. And also, I think it was just like, I'm not this crazy person.
And you said that, and that was a fact.
That was a fact.
That was the truth.
Correct.
And intertwined with that same sentence, you said there's just a couple of my dad's things I came to get. So you were able to, on the spot, think to craft a lie mixed in with something truthful.
Correct.
Well, you're an honest person, correct?
Typically.
When you said, I'm hoping this mistake won't completely fuck up my life, were you being truthful or deceitful?
Truthful.
How about when you said, I know I did something bad?
Truthful.
Truthful? Brutally honest?
I had scared Carol out of her mind. That was horrible.
Yeah.
So checking on a loved one is something bad?
The part that was bad was the fact that I was doing everything in my power to not upset her and escalate it, and I ended up doing the exact opposite.
And I just wanted to get a couple of my dad's mementos, and that's all, in the back of the squad. And that was a lie. That's what you're telling us here today.
Yes.
Such a lie that you were able to come up with the next sentence and say a couple pictures and maybe one of his flannel shirts. You were able to spin that on the spot and come up with the items.
Those were actual items I had wanted.
You did want them.
They were items I had wanted at points because I also said the ashes. And I believe I had taken that particular question as what things had you wanted, because I included the things I'd asked for to include some things that didn't exist anymore.
And then later on, when Officer Wolfe questioned you in the back of the squad, asked you about the laptop, you went out of your way to say, I just wanted to get a couple things before anything else gets destroyed. And you were able to spin that on the spot?
I don't recall saying that.
Well, if it's on the
I did,
body
yes.
camera, would you agree you said it?
If it was on the body cam, I would agree.
Ms. Mitchell, I have you back up a little bit further away from the mic. Thank you.
So when you were asked what got you to this situation, you said the ashes. Was that truth or fiction?
So when I watch it,
Just pick one, please. Truth or fiction?
I was talking about to the point of the check, and that was truth.
Okay. Now, you elaborately, eloquently described all the things you did in the house after you broke in with the crowbar. Is that fair to say?
Correct?
Okay. Yet, when you were questioned in the back of the squad, you said, I had literally just gotten into the house, hadn't had time to do anything. Clearly, I'm not good at this. You recall that?
I do recall that.
Okay. So Again, it's a brilliant lie you were able to craft under the pressure of being arrested.
The other officer had just, I believe, asked me, I had to kind of watch the body cams to figure out.
This is brilliant. This is good cross-examination. Mostly, it's easy cross-examination. They just take her words and say, what about that? She's not an honest person. She probably never has been one. She's a gaslighter and a criminal.
Why I might have said that, had just asked me, did you drive down? Did you stay at a hotel? And I was very confused. And then the other officer, I believe, then asked something about the timing. And I think I believed he was still kind of asking, like, if I'd driven or stayed in town. And so I was kind of conflating those two questions. But
I had literally just gotten into the house. There's not much room for interpretation there. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And then finally, before you're put in the holding cell, Officer Sternhagen asks you if there's anything else you want to add. And then he says, what made you so you got to do this or whatever? He said, something that's weighed on me, especially this past month, a lot of sleepless nights, couldn't sleep and thought about it. Truth?
It's true.
And it was necessary to dress clad in all black to check on Carol Mitchell.
I was dressed in all black.
Were those military issue pants you had on?
It was a long underwear set that I bought at Target.
And the stocking cap was necessary for a welfare check?
I was trying not to be seen, and it was still April and cold outside.
If I told you it was 49 degrees that morning, would you disagree with me? At 4 a.m.?
That sounds about right.
Okay. Is that stocking cap weather?
For an extended period of time, and I had driven down there, probably keeping the window open to stay awake a little bit, yes.
Well, you're meteorology, not me. Is that stocking cap weather?
For me, for an extended period of time, yes.
And your concern was not being seen by the neighbors, so you parked the block away.
Yes.
Tell us your stepmother's neighbors' names.
I can remember a little bit about them, but not the names.
Okay.
So you cared so much that you never bothered to learn the names of her neighbors and friends. Yeah.
You don't dispute that you entered through the egress window?
I do not.
You don't dispute that you used a crowbar to gain entry? Or pry bar, excuse me.
Yes.
That pry bar right up there, that's yours?
Yes.
That's the one you packed
Yes.
before driving 220 miles?
Yes.
Okay. I want to circle back. So you're very close to your aunts, Cindy and Nancy, is that correct?
Yes.
You trust their judgment?
Typically, yes.
Okay. And obviously all this has been done out of concern for Carol Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay. And yet yesterday, your aunt Nancy admitted on cross-examination that your relationship with Carol was not stellar. Carol Mitchell. You understand that?
I hadn't heard a question.
Your aunt Cindy gave a statement to the defense investigator as well. Are you aware of that? Cindy Markey, I believe her name is.
That is my aunt, yes.
Okay. Would it shock you if she told the defense investigator that your relationship has never been good from day one? Would that shock you?
I met her when I was 4. I'm not sure how that would be entirely accurate, but yes, we have had rocky times.
Let's talk about when you were in the house. Your testimony is that Carol Mitchell bumped into you when you were standing?
Yes,
Okay, so you're denying that you were laying next to her bed.
I am.
Okay, again, is this truth or fiction?
True.
And your testimony is that Carol Mitchell followed you downstairs with her knife?
No, I heard her when I opened the door. I heard her. Would have been near the bottom of the stairs, and she would have been near the top of the stairs in the kitchen. And I heard her say she had a knife, so she grabbed it at some point in time.
And you heard the 911 call, correct?
I did.
And so your characterization is that you gave yourself up as soon as the officers were there?
I do not believe I said that.
Well, tell us in your mind what happened when the officers arrived.
I heard them at some point. Again, I didn't understand that she didn't understand it was me, or so I was shocked when I heard the yelling and the screaming, and honestly, I was afraid. I didn't come out because being in the military, I mean, most people are wonderful. I was a little afraid to move or do anything. I kind of froze, to put it simply, because occasionally you have people, at least people I've worked, rare, but that are almost looking to shoot someone.
You didn't want to get shot?
And so I stayed in place until they came to that area. I opened the door and I stood there.
You didn't call police. It's Nicole. Carol is my stepmother. I'm in the bathroom. That is how you prepare somebody. Waiting until they go past and discover that shit, they're going to find me anyways, and then opening the door puts at more risk to getting shot. Because, surprise, here I am, is a really stupid thing to do when armed cops are nearby.
You brought the flashlight with you, of course?
Yes,
Okay, and your testimony is that was already modified for your son and that wasn't for this trip.
correct. I believe his name might have even been on the flashlight.
And it was also necessary, of course, to throw in a pair of flashlight gloves for a welfare check.
The flashlight gloves is what I primarily use. They're not as bright, so the other flashlight is actually very bright, and it was kind of a backup. I just hadn't taken my kid's sock off it.
And in your testimony, it was necessary to remove your shoes to check on Carol, to check on the residence.
They'd gotten dirty in the well, and we always take our shoes off. I didn't want to track anything through the house.
Now, you testified on direct that you did not have anything in your possession, correct? Any of Carol or your father's?
Nothing that was not mine.
Okay, and isn't that true because you were caught right away?
I had checked the whole house at that point, so I wouldn't agree with that.
Okay, you had checked the whole house, but you told Officer Wolfe that you had literally just gotten in there.
I would guess I'd been there about 10 minutes.
But you went out of your way to tell him you hadn't had time to do anything.
My main objective was the phone, and I had not gotten to that.
Your other objectives were checking cat litter and deep freezes.
If that's how you'd like to phrase that.
That wasn't me phrasing it, that was your testimony.
My objective was a welfare check.
And yet, in 37 and a half minutes with Officer Sternhagen, you never mentioned that once.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained. Ms. Mitchell will have you back up again. Thank you.
Ms. Mitchell, when you started your testimony, you said that you retired from the military because of this, correct?
I believe I said I was also eligible, but correct.
Why?
Why? Because of this?
Correct.
Because I was in a position with a boss in general who wasn't always the most supportive person. And this
now
was
it's
also
the
high
boss's
profile.
fault.
I was told it was a distraction.
It's the boss's fault for not supporting you burglarizing your stepmother. Of course, it's always somebody else's fault, isn't it, Nicole? Always someone else's fault. Never your own. Always someone else's fault. It's everybody else, not me. Everybody. This is Sarah Boone. This is Amber Heard. This is Jodi Arias. This is Cluster B personality. It is never their fault. It's their fault for making me do this. That is the core of her personality. If Carol hadn't banned me from the house, I wouldn't have had to go through her medical records and bank records. If she hadn't banned me from the house, I needed, don't you see? I needed to burglarize her because she threw me out. It's her fault. And now it's her boss's fault. for not supporting her after being caught red-handed burglarizing her stepmother's home. Always somebody else's fault.
And he was also going for a promotion at the time and didn't kind of want the taint of any of this associated with him. So he asked me to put in my resignation.
And you don't feel that you have any personal accountability in that decision?
It was clearly indicated to me that my life would be made very difficult if I did not. So yes, I had a
That's
decision.
not the question. The question, you didn't have any responsibility in it. And clearly, she doesn't think so. She clearly thinks she's perfectly fine doing this crap.
If you've been in the military, you kind of know that sometimes, even if you have a decision, you kind of don't have a decision. I don't know how to phrase that.
You were charged on April 23rd, 2024?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay, and released from custody before noon that day?
I believe so.
And within 3 hours, it was important for you to put out a Facebook post. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
A Facebook post that's completely inconsistent with the body camera footage in this case. Correct?
Yes.
Why did you craft that Facebook post?
So originally, when I'd gotten in, I was told I'd probably be released that morning. And then my arrest leaked to the media and it blew up. And I got to watch my life unfold on the jailhouse television.
Was there some political preservation involved in your Facebook post?
No, I wanted people to at least understand that all the craziness, that there was more to the story. I also wanted to de-escalate it because I could see from what I watched that the press was starting to hound Carol, which really concerned me. She really values her privacy. I genuinely did believe it was a family matter, and I was hoping, especially for her sake, that we wouldn't go through all this.
She values her privacy. Is that what you just said?
She doesn't like having her picture taken.
Ms. Mitchell, I'm
things
asking you,
like
did
that.
you just testify that Carol Mitchell values her privacy?
Yes,
Okay, and yet you broke into her home at 4:45 in the morning.
correct.
Just one moment, please. All right, asked to republish Exhibit 21 at approximately 14:33.
All right, you may.
Ms. Mitchell, this is the list you testified about? Is that correct?
Correct.
And your
Oh yeah, so that's the list. And she cropped out the containers she brought with her.
testimony, if I understand it, was you're claiming that the line delete text and contacts actually means to make sure that Carol Mitchell hadn't deleted contacts? Or please explain it to me.
Yes, and I think one of the officers even testified that she had just added my contact back in March, but I mean, my contact had been in there forever, so I think that ended up being a valid concern.
In your testimony, explain to me again what the ad tracking means with your direct testimony.
Yes, as I said, sometimes she would turn off things on her phone that the phone really actually needed for functionality. I'd helped her with her phone a couple times when she'd had problems with it, and I had a concern, especially with her getting, lost even with mapping programs, that she had maybe turned off the more specific location devices that were needed for her mapping to function, and it would also be what police would use if she actually got lost.
Ms. Mitchell, was this a way for you to further control and track Carol Mitchell?
There would have been no way for me to do that.
Well, you were bringing a computer back to her, weren't you?
Yes.
Now, you testified about watching Carol Mitchell's progression over the years. Is that fair to say?
Yes,
You've also testified about the loved ones that you've had that you've watched suffer from either Alzheimer's or dementia.
yes,
And you've talked about paranoia and triggers and things of those natures. Would you agree with that?
yes,
Yet, fully aware of all that, fully aware of Carol Mitchell's Alzheimer's, you still made a decision to break into her house that morning.
yes,
Okay. That was, in your mind, that was the best course of action. Not telling anybody else, driving 220 miles and breaking into her house.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Ms. Mitchell, how many years was your father married to Carol Mitchell?
they were just about to have an anniversary before he died, and or after. So I think that would have been the 40th. So I believe 39 years.
And your father's no doubt proud of your accomplishments, correct?
I believe he was.
How do you think he would feel about you breaking into his own home?
I think he would be very sad by this whole situation, and that he would support me because he loved Carol, and even if I did it the wrong way, he would have wanted me to do my best to take care of her.
He would have, if he had the capability, he would have put you over his knees and reamed you out and told you, don't you ever dare come near me or my wife again. That is what he would have done. Scaring the love of his life, his wife of 39, almost 40 years, his partner since 44 years. And you did this to her, and you sit there, you shit cunt whore, and say, this? No. I know the type of people, the type of person her dad was. He would never, in a lifetime, have accepted this behavior from you.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. DeGray.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Mitchell, on cross-examination, Mr. McDonald asked you a number of times before I objected why you didn't explain the real reason why you were there once you were outside of Carol Mitchell's presence. Can you explain why you didn't do that?
I'm so sorry.
And please try to get back. I know it's difficult, but please try to stay back.
So when we were in the house, again, I don't remember everything perfectly, but it really felt like she was almost just being allowed to wander around. And so there were times, even if I was, like when I was trying to get my shoes, I didn't remember saying it there until I saw the video, and I was like, why did you say it? And then I saw her in the different view, like wandering around in the background. And so I think it was because I knew she could hear it. But
what about when she's out of presence? Please focus on that. I know why you didn't do it when she was in the basement. When you're apart from her, that's what Mr. McDonald is getting at.
I apologize. So they were going back and forth and telling her everything. I could tell it, like with the laptop and things, and they just kept talking to her. And again, I was hoping to calm everything down, and I had a belief that she could decide, whether or not I would be charged. And I knew that even if I told the police at the station, they would just immediately go back and say, well, she did that, she said this, can you verify it, whatever else. And that would spin her up, and it would make it impossible to try and calm it back down. And I'm not saying every thought I was having in that state was rational, but that was what was in my head.
So even though she was apart from you, she eventually would find out.
I knew that they would tell her.
And you thought that would make her more likely to want to press charges?
Yes.
Okay. On cross-examination, Mr. McDonald asked a question about how you didn't express concern for Carol after you were arrested, and you said no. And he asked you yes or no, and you said no. So I'm going to read a number of statements you made to Officer Sternhager, and I want you to tell me whether or not this was you expressing concern. You said, my dad died last year. She's paranoid. Now she's really paranoid. Was that expressing concern?
Yes.
You then said she's got severe Alzheimer's. Was that expressing concern?
Yes.
You said, after the funeral, my aunts tried to help her. She thinks they stole from her when they were just trying to get her affairs in order. She's progressively cut off the family to include promising us some ashes so we can bury them with the rest of the family. Is that expressing concern?
Yes, the overall behavior.
You say, she's got Alzheimer's. I know this doesn't help, but it's going to prove the point. She's gotten paranoid and thinks we are all out to get her and won't let anyone in the house. Concern?
Yes.
I used to be here all the time. Last time I was here, October or November, and then she just got progressively more paranoid. Concern?
Yes.
We had a fight over the acid situation, and she, at least right now, wouldn't talk to me. It's gotten progressively worse. Concern?
Yes.
So do you stand by your answer to Mr. McDonald that you did express concern about Carol Mitchell after you were arrested?
I wasn't going to say the reason I was there, but all of those things were the real things, and the real things that got me to where we were.
Is the reason you told both Carol Mitchell and the officers that you were there for some certain things of your father's because Carol Mitchell had previously promised you that you could have those?
Yes.
Did you think that would make it more likely that she would believe that and then calm down and possibly, to your knowledge, not ask for you to be charged with a crime?
Yes.
So, what a load of bullshit. What an absolute load of bullshit.
One of the things Mr. McDonald brought into issue was whether or not you were laying down in Carol Mitchell's room or standing up. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And Carol Mitchell said that you were laying down, correct?
Yes.
Did she also say that you and Jonathan had never met? Jonathan Keel?
Yes.
Did she also say that she had attended Rod Mitchell's interment alone?
Yes.
Did she also say before the lunch break that Rod Mitchell died in 1993?
Yes.
Were any of those things true?
No.
Mr. McDonald also referenced a Facebook post that you posted after you were released from jail. In that Facebook post, what was the true statement that you were talking about?
Yeah, we covered that on day 2 of my streams. That is her narrating to the public in order to keep her position as a state senator.
I'm
Let
not
me
sure
ask
I
a better
understand. I apologize.
Did you mention that this was related to Alzheimer's?
Yes.
Was this related to Alzheimer's?
Yes.
Was that the truth?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. McDonald.
So when you're expressing these statements of concern to the officers, are those truths or are those more lies?
They were true.
But yet they're intertwined with your statements of why you were there.
Correct?
And now on redirect examination for the first time, you're telling us that Carol Mitchell previously promised you these items. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't covered in your initial direct, but now you're telling us that. You testified earlier that you've gone through hundreds and hundreds of text messages, yet we have nothing saying that these items were ever promised to you.
We also had a lot of conversations.
So if Carol Mitchell told the 911 operator that she stepped on somebody, you're saying that she's lying?
I am.
I have no further questions.
She was. This is so bad. Her lying is inexcusably bad. You woke your stepmother up while crawling on the floor. And now you accuse her of lying?
Mr. DeCray.
Did you hear the testimony of Nancy Lund where she testified that Carol Mitchell was going to give some of Rod Mitchell's possessions to her in order to give them to you?
Yes.
Did that form your belief that those possessions would be yours?
There were a number of conversations about different possessions. So I'm not sure. I already knew that we talked about some of the things, and then some of the things she'd said she would save. She got confused and gave away. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't understand the question.
Do you recall testimony from Jonathan Keel where he was asked about whether or not Carol Mitchell would have a problem giving you any of those possessions, and he said no?
Yes, I remember that.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. McDonald?
Nothing further.
All right, Ms. Mitchell, you may step down. Again, watch your step.
Thank you.
In my opinion, Nicole Mitchell did not improve her situation on the stand. In my opinion, what happened was that she revealed her true colors as a gaslighter and a liar and a criminal.